位现场以及屏幕前的观众朋友们，大家下午好，欢迎来到我们的比赛现场，我是今天的主持人小兔。凭热爱共传奇，这里是由西安曲江 WE 电子竞技俱乐部、未来电视、达波电竞、星际老男孩 SCBoy 联合主办的 StarsWar 11星际争霸2线下赛的比赛直播现场，欢迎各位观众来到我们西安线下。在这里，首先感谢我们比赛的官方赞助商爱工电竞显示器、TCL、雷鸟、斗鱼直播平台、奥风电竞椅、网易悠悠加速器以及 KK 官方对战平台。同时也要感谢我们赛事的战略合作伙伴寻影以及态度电竞外设对于我们比赛的大力支持。时隔了5年，我们又一次迎来了属于我们星际争霸2的线下比赛，所以在这里还要特别感谢我们西安曲江新区管理委员会以及网易雷火工作室对于我们赛事的大力支持。在昨天的比赛里面，我们2位中国选手遗憾无缘到我们今日的决赛，最终我们会由3位来自韩国赛区的选手 Maru、Hero、GuMiho 以及我们来自欧美赛区的 Skills 为我们带来今天的决赛。凭热爱共传奇，这整整5年的等待，让我们今天一起在长安进行一个圆梦。相信对于在座的所有人来说，星际争霸已经不是一款简单的游戏，它是你们人生的一部分，它也是我们共同的回忆。那今天在这里，我们就带领着大家一起重温青春岁月，点燃我们激情的赛场。今天会为大家带来2场 BO7 的半决赛以及1场 BO9 的决赛。4位选手究竟谁可以问鼎冠军？让我们在今天来为大家揭晓吧。接下来，让我们以最热烈的掌声欢迎我们的2位选手登台亮相。首先，用掌声欢迎我们的韩国选手 Maru。接下来，让我们有掌声欢迎另一位选手 GuMiho。好的，那我们也是简单的采访一下我们2位选手。首先采访一下我们的GuMiho，其实你是在2023的线下赛里面唯一一个2次赢过Maru选手的人，分别你是在之前的 GSL 以及我们的 ESL 的夏季赛里面都是战胜过Maru选手的。你觉得这样的一个胜率是你对Maru选手有特别的一个针对研究，还是其他方面的呢？
사실 그때 좀 운이 좋았다고 생각하고 마루 이기려면은 뭐 마루보다 더 잘하는 수밖에 없는 것 같아요.
他说其实能战胜马路2次都是因为运气好，他并不觉得自己比马路强太多。
非常的谦虚啊！那这里也想问一下，你平时会和哪些人族的选手去进行一个训练呢？今天觉得自己会以几比几的比分战胜Maru？
올리베이라 선수랑 많이 합니다.
他说平时主要是和奥利维拉选手一起练习。
이기려면 한 4대2 정도로 이길 수 있을 것 같습니다. 지면은 좀 더 압도적으로 질 것 같아요.
他说今天能以4比2战胜马路，如果是输的话，也不会输得太惨嘛。
我很有信心哦，他首先会觉得自己会赢，而且是4比2赢。那他刚刚也说了，他平时都是跟李培南一起训练的。如果今天赢了，感觉也会有一点李培南的功劳在里面哦，因为是他经常训练的人族选手。好的，那我们接下来采访一下我们的马如选手。其实昨天在赛后采访的时候，我就问过你，你当时是跟我说你是觉得今天如果打GuMiho的话，压力会更大。那你在昨天知道了今天会赢阵GuMiho之后，有没有去请教一下你的，比如说队内好友，比如说你们队里面有一个这个人族内战高手 Xi'an， 或者有没有昨天去做一些额外的准备？
일단 딱히 도와달라고 말은 안 했고 제가 생각이 많아지면 잘 못해가지고 그냥 편하게 하려고 하고 있습니다.
他没有找他的队友，他觉得他自己就完全可以搞定那个这个事情，轻松的很。
哦，超有自信哎！那我们的翻译小姐姐可以给他转达一下，就刚刚那个GuMiho选手说，今天觉得自己会4比2轻松击败他，他对这个有什么想要回应的吗？
일단 병재 형이 빌드도 많고 머리 아프게 잘하셔가지고 충분히 그럴 수 있다고 생각하고 저도 이긴다면 어렵게 이길 것 같습니다.
他觉得就是GuMiho选手还是有他就是自己的就是那个特点吧，因为他那脑子很好用，然后但是他也会战胜对方。
好的，那这边的话还有个小问题，就是这2天其实我在训练室里面观察到，你经常在训练室里面用神族去和 Hero 选手进行练习，这是你一个训练的独特的小技巧吗？
그냥 재밌어서 했고요. 손도 잘 풀리길래 많이 한 것 같습니다.
没有什么特别的，它就是用来热身的，就觉得好玩。
就是一个简单的一个热身，但是不用自己的一个主族，用一个其他的族来进行一个小小的热身。好的，那其实今天现场也是来了很多中国支持你的观众朋友，那我们在赛前对一直支持你的观众朋友们表一下今天比赛的决心吧。
오랜만에 이렇게 중국에 와가지고 이렇게 많은 팬분들 앞에서 하는 것도 너무 좋고 저를 많이 응원해 주시는 것 같아가지고 그것도 너무 감사해서 오늘 꼭 이기도록 하겠습니다.
他说他好久没有参加这种线下的大赛了，然后今天有这么多来支持他的观众，他感到很开心。今天一定会为大家带来胜利。
马如说会把胜利带给大家。 好的，非常感谢2位选手接受到我们的采访。那么我们的 StarsWar 11星际争霸2线下赛半决赛，Maru 对阵GuMiho正赛马上开始，凭热爱共传奇。
And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to day number 2 of StarsWar 11, the playoffs, the day of the semifinals and the grand finals as well. I'm your host, Live VIP, and with me, I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat and these amazing players as well. Of course, we were live yesterday with the first day of the event with the quarterfinals, and now we have our final 4 players here ready for you tonight. We have Maru, GuMiho, as well as Hero and Skillus. Nothing but Protoss and Terran remaining here in the tournament, and we have 2 mirror matchups for the semifinals. What does that mean? That means that the finals is confirmed to be a TvP. It will not be a mirror matchup finals. It's going to be a Terran versus Protoss, but which Terran and which Protoss is the question that we're here to answer. Oh boy, here we go. Now, a big shout out to Ethan in the chat. Thank you so much. Ethan in Twitch chat was giving us some live translations as to what was being said in the interviews. quickly going over them. Said interview in rough translations, I should say, it looks like GuMiho, you know, who was being modest, he was saying how, like, oh, he's beaten Maru in the past, or even if he will beat Maru, it is because, you know, he's lucky more than anything. You know, of course, he's giving a lot of respect to Maru. Likewise, GuMiho also was saying that he was practicing with Oliveira in preparation for tonight's matches, and that he believes that he's going to win 4-2 in this best of 7. As a reminder, of course, it's going to be best of 7s here in the upcoming semifinals. The grand finals is going to be a best of 9. Speaking of, you have them here before you. We have Maru versus GuMiho up first in that best of 7, followed by Hero versus Skilless, and then the best of 9 grand finals at the end of the night. 3 matches back to back to back. Of course, today we're going live a little bit earlier than normal just because these series are going to be that much longer, and yesterday's broadcast was like almost 7 hours, or it was like 6. It was like a 6-hour cast. It was a long event, Pop. It was a long event. We made it through it in the end, and you can see the scores and the results of last night's matches. I do recommend checking out the VODs. Check out the VODs on Twitch or on YouTube. They're available in both platforms. We covered Maru versus Spirit, Showtime versus GuMiho, Firefly versus Hero, and Oliveira versus Skilless. They all had amazing games themselves. I mean, I feel like the highlight of the night was maybe, you can make an argument for a lot of those matches. Firefly versus Hero was very close, like surprisingly close. That PvP was very clutch in the end, and I don't think the score fully reflects that. GuMiho versus Showtime was a wild time as well. If you want to see some Mech versus Protoss, check out GuMiho versus Showtime. It was a good time. It was a wild series. I do recommend it. Definitely do check it out. And likewise, we had the other matches as well. Oliveira versus Skilless was also very dynamic as well. A little bit more one-sided, but still a lot of fun was had in that series, at least watching it as a caster and viewer perspective. Likewise, the first TvT between the likes of Maru and Spirit also was a dynamic one as well. I remember we started things off with Maru versus Spirit, and even though it's a 3-0, those are some wild games. We had some base trades, we have some moments where even Spirit was ahead and winning games, but Maru did clutch it out in the end. Very impressive stuff there from our semi-finalists. As we have a look at the crowd, again, the crowd show coming in. Oh, we see the sea of blue, by the way, for those that are curious. In the crowd, you're given a wristband. You're given a red and blue wristband. The players are assigned colors, and for each matchup, they do this. They kind of poll the crowd here to see what kind of, who they're going to be favoring and who they're going to be cheering for. That's a sea of blue. That's a sea of Maru fans, by the way. Oh boy. So, makes sense. I mean, Maru is, I think most would admit, the best Terran in the world. But what I will say is that in the TvT matchup, there are certain specialists here. You know, whenever it comes to TvT, I always give credit to players like Xi'an, for example, and players like GuMiho as well. GuMiho is another one of these TvT specialists who can punch up and who can create these upsets here in the TvT matchup. So I do like GuMiho's chances to make a series out of this, but that's making a series out of it. Taking the series, that's going to be another question entirely. Oh boy. So I don't envy the people in the chat because predictions will soon be open. Once we get our game going, once we get into game 1, predictions will be open in the chat, and you yourself can place your channel points on the line for who you think makes it to the grand finals. Will it be Maru or will it be GuMiho? As you can see here, the players are setting up there on their pieces, setting up for this series. I believe so. Yesterday we had some interviews. We had like some fun content beforehand that was pre-recorded that we were able to show off for our players. I don't know if they had time to record again. I know that we're live a little bit earlier today, and I know that things ended late last night, so I'm not sure if they were able to have enough time to record some things or not. I'm curious if we will. I mean, personally, I hope so. It would be really cool if we got some more thoughts. I mean, we just had a live interview with the players, so I don't know if they're going to double up on that. We'll see. We shall see. Again, that was the other really nice thing about yesterday's coverage, is that we did have those subtitles, kind of like video segments where we could get a little bit of insight. They were able to ask the players some more fun questions as well, like about balance and about, you know, their practice regimen, some more generalized questions, I guess, as well. But it was a lot of good fun. Oh, you can see their setups. You can see Maru, he's got his USB fan. He's got his fan, of course, to keep himself cool, calm, and collected. Meanwhile, we got GuMiho with the towel Terran himself. He's got a towel in one hand, he's got the heat pack in the other, ready to heat things up. Let us go. But yeah, the players are just kind of getting their setups ready, making sure that they're comfortable, making sure that they are ready for the series to come. And again, there's a lot of money here on the line as well. There's a lot on the table. Get that towel going. I still, if you remember, I still feel a little bit robbed that at the time Storm Gaming never made like a GuMiho branded towel. Likewise, Cloud9 as well. Like, I mean, you know, who wouldn't want like some GuMiho towel merch? I mean, it's been his brand for years, Papi, for years. He's such an old school player. Like, I'm just saying, there's branding opportunity there. Okay, there's merchandise opportunity for GuMiho. Aye. It's like Flash with his ruler, right? Like, who wouldn't want like a Flash ruler? Who wouldn't want a GuMiho towel? Aye. Regardless, is getting things set up. Once that's set up, I believe vetoes will be underway. We'll be able to pick our map order. It's a best of 7, so our players will have some vetoes available to them. They'll have a handful of vetoes before going over their map picks. When it comes to the vetoes, I can't imagine they're going to be too crazy. I'm picturing like Dynasty and Post Youth, or maybe Dynasty and Ghost River. I mean, Dynasty's got to be vetoed, right? Maybe not. If you remember, it was Oliveira versus Skillis last night where we finally got to see Dynasty in the entire tournament. We saw it once last night. That was during Oliveira and Skillis. And because we have less vetoes here in these best of 7s and no vetoes in the best of 9, then it does mean that we have a greater chance here of actually seeing some of these more unorthodox maps that we rarely get to see. So exciting times. Set that up beforehand. But all is good. Also, a shout out to, I believe it was XY and Max said, I believe they're casting over for the Chinese viewers at the moment. They don't really go that far. For his mouse, doesn't need. Here we go. It looks like we finally have our vetoes, by the way. Let's go and yeah, it's as we did assume. The vetoes are going to be Post Youth from Maru and Dynasty from GuMiho. Again, Dynasty and Post Youth are some of the more unorthodox maps that do add for a lot more quirkier play. So we just get rid of the anomalies, and now we're going into our best of 7. Game 1 going to be on Alcyone. Game 2, Oceanborn, followed by Ghost River, Amphion, Crimson Court, Sight Delta, and Golden Aura to end things off as the ace match. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of the vetoes that I expect to be seeing throughout these best of 7s, like Post Youth and Dynasty, but we'll see if we do deviate from that in our upcoming PvP later on in those semis, or in the lower semis. Oh, Maru, he's got his own towel. Just making sure the desk is clean. Let's go. Likewise, it looks like the lobby is set and we are getting ready for our first series. If you're in the Twitch chat, predictions are now... It's not the button I was meant to press. Predictions are now open, by the way. Predictions are open. Place your bets on who you believe is going to advance onto those grand finals. Again, Maru is going to be the heavy favorite. True, Maru is the favorite player, but I believe that GuMiho can make him work for it, and there is also a chance that he can take this series himself. There is that chance. I want to believe. Again, if you're in the chat, I believe you have a minute and a half to place those bets, to place your predictions. Best of luck. And here we go. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have our South Korean Terran player. For Team Vitality, it is Maru. And in the top right, we have his opponent for Cloud9, GuMiho. Here we go. Again, we're loading into Alcyone, one of the more standard maps in the map pool. Quite large, a lot of bases to be taken. And if you remember, there was something said yesterday in Maru's winner's interview after he had beaten Spirit. These are slight spoilers if you missed out on that series. I do recommend watching it. But if you remember, Maru was asked about mech, because Maru did play mech in yesterday's broadcast. He was asked about it, and he did answer. He was asked, like, you know, why he played it, you know, his maybe a thought process behind it. And he said that he thinks that he enjoys playing mech, that it's fun, and it also has a high win rate. So I'm pretty sure that was in reference to specifically TvT, but I believe we're going to be seeing mech at multiple points in this series, from not just Maru, GuMiho as well. Not saying they'll do it every game, not at all, but I'm sure we're going to be seeing it from time to time sprinkled throughout this best of 7. GuMiho is also one to dabble in mech in TvTs as well. So that's something else to bear in mind when it comes to our playstyles that we're going to be flexing here. Of course, Bio Tank is also something that Maru can bring to the table, but especially on these larger maps, I feel like mech is something a little bit more lucrative here on maps like Alcyone, like Post Youth, which has been vetoed to be fair, like even Side Delta as well. But now we are settling in. It is going to be double gas openers, double gas from GuMiho, double gas from Maru. So far, we are mirroring each other. We're getting into our factory setups. From here, we should be then expanding. I mean, one-base all-ins can be a thing, but for the most part, especially on a larger map like this, we should not be seeing that. We should be expanding, following it up with our 1-1-1. As the SCVs, they only skirt around the close-by areas, around the third base locations before pulling back. No big scouts coming out yet. We have the CC on location for both Maru and GuMiho. Again, so far we are keeping up with each other. Reactor on the way from Maru. Reactor done for GuMiho, going for Reactor to Reaper Hellion. So it's going to be a bit of a more aggressive style from the side of GuMiho, going Reaper Hellion. Meanwhile, Maru, I believe, is going to be deviating away from that. Yeah, he's going for a Widowmine instead. So we'll see if GuMiho can break through. The goal here is for GuMiho to amass this small army, to move that across the map to try to get some economic damage done. Maybe catch the Reapers of Maru. Maru, on the flip side, will have that Widowmine set up, and that shot could make or break a defense for him, as we are doubling down on extra Reapers, by the way. This is not triple Reaper, double Hellion. We're going up to 5 Reapers and 3 Hellions. GuMiho is making an extra wave. What does that tell us? That means he's committing that much harder to this early game aggression, and he needs to get damage done with this. Otherwise, he's going to fall behind. This is a big investment. Just waiting for those reinforcing Reapers to pop out. Cyclone behind this. Meanwhile, Maru building up himself. Remember, he does have that Widowmine, getting to his own Raven Cyclone production. And we are pushing. Now, I'm not too sure where the Widowmine has been borrowed. I know it's out there for Maru. It could be borrowed underneath one of his units to try to... Yep, there it is. It's borrowed underneath his units. Trying to bait the army in. Maru moves out with his Reaper. Won't have it at home to defend. Does miss the army, and now here we go. GuMiho does go for the dive. How good is the Maestro going to be? We drag it in. We force some friendly fire. Marine's going to be going down. Boys are being pulled. The Cyclone so far does survive. And is not going to be targeted down. Yeah, Maru does hold. Does bleed out a couple of units. Does bleed out the Reaper as well. But we shouldn't be losing this position. We should be holding onto the natural. And Maru does deflect GuMiho. From here, GuMiho, he backs off. He's going to be getting into his own setup. Interesting setup, by the way. GuMiho, how do we bounce back from this? Again, it was a big commitment. We're going into a 3rd CC. But Maru is not too behind. Our base is here at around the same time. We do see GuMiho going for some for some Banshee harass. We spoke about this earlier, and to bring it back up, incorporating Banshees here in this matchup has been quite popular. I believe Maru did start it alongside Xi'an now a year ago, maybe more than that. But to just send out one lone Banshee here can do a surprising amount of damage. Only the one Banshee. There's no cloak, for example. There's no cloak behind this. We're slipping in, looking for some economic damage. And ideally, GuMiho uses this to distract Maru to dive in from another location. We're going to get 2 SCVs, 3 SCVs. And remember, Stim is nowhere near being done. We can even kite against these Marines. Auto turret will force back the Banshee. But again, we're forcing the Raven to waste energy. We get 3 workers already. It's only the one Banshee, and it's still alive. It can still get more done. Behind this, you can see Maru getting ready in the main, just in case a second Banshee were to arrive. Doesn't know how hard GuMiho committed. And we're settling into our bio tank. Again, Stim is on the way for both players. I mentioned mech earlier, but we're not getting it in game 1. Thankfully. we have all day, but still. We're working towards Stim. 1-1. Tank production underway. And you can see GuMiho hoping to try to catch anything in that center of the base. We do see the Banshee dipping into the main. We mentioned before that Maru, he's aware of this. He's ready for this. Prepared for any kind of aggression in that main base. Bleeds out a unit or two, but not much else. Cyclone coming in to chase down that Banshee, but it will barely miss it. The Banshee will escape. And what's important here is that this Banshee can always come back home, repair, and then go back in and get even more damage done. There is still potential for damage. Scanner reveals the third base. GuMiho's on his 3-base setup. Maru is slightly behind. He has his third, but he hasn't landed on location yet. So GuMiho is taking a slight economic lead. And he's being very active on the map. He is spotted as he moves out. Again, GuMiho trying to contain Maru to 2 bases. Headed for that natural. Again, there's a brutal location that where you can lay siege upon the gas geyser from the low ground at the natural base. Third base is about to be landed, and GuMiho does have eyes on this with the Reapers. Who gets here first? Maru rolls up. Maru has Ravens, of course, with disables available. And he is the first to siege. GuMiho, his Reapers do slip into the main. We do force Maru to respond, and we're diving onto the third. We dive in, we have the disables, and GuMiho, he gets completely shut down. Yeah, respect the Ravens. As the Ravens, they take down every one of those tanks. Good defense here by Maru. He gets his third base up and running, and that was a big loss for GuMiho. That was 3 tanks going down, and now suddenly Maru has a massive tank lead. Oof. It was a good idea, but GuMiho did kind of blindly go up that ramp, was unaware of the location of those tanks or the Ravens as well, who was hoping that the Reapers would drag everything out of position. And now we're going for a counterattack, and Maru, he has a massive lead. GuMiho trying to escape. He does save the tank, just barely. But what is there left to defend? The Banshee comes in from behind. We're getting some SCV kills, that is true, but does it even matter? Does it even matter here? We do have 2 tanks on the high ground. The Ravens don't have much energy to work with, but, I mean, let's just go for a Doom drop, you know. Let's bypass the tanks, go for a drop into the main base. Even a drop towards the third instead. Boys are being pulled into Stin Marines. GG gets called. Too many workers go down. Such a brutal position. And Maru will take game number 1. Whew. GG. GG. Again, GuMiho didn't have a bad start to the game. He had a pretty, I mean, especially with his Banshee harass, with his faster third base, with his map control as well, was doing well. But things very quickly escalated out of control when GuMiho tried to pressure that third base, where he tried to deny it. We saw when he slipped his Reapers into the main base, we did see Maru pull back with his Marines. If you remember, he loaded up his Marines, he dropped into his own main. That did expose his tanks on the front line, but he had 3 Ravens to support himself, and he was able to disable the tanks of GuMiho, throw down a line of auto turrets, and Maru held beautifully there. GuMiho, again, maybe not aware of what he was pushing into, maybe hoping that Maru would overreact to the Reapers and not quite be in position. Assumptions were made, and GuMiho was punished very hard there. And from there, that's what triggered the counterattack. That was then Maru pushing out, and there was just nothing to stop him. It was one and done. GG. GG, well played. Whew. Again, quite a decisive blow there for GuMiho. And we'll see if GuMiho can bounce back coming into our next game. Quickly just double-checking our map order. Game number 2 is going to be on Oceanborn. It is going to be a slightly smaller map, true. And I wonder how our players are going to they're going to be adjusting their styles. The other important thing from the side of Maru is that Maru didn't do anything special. He played very standard this game, very defensive even. If you remember, he opened up Reaper Hellion, then went into a fast mine, into Cyclones, was very defensive early on, and it was really just reacting to what GuMiho was doing. Again, that push and counterattack was because of the failed push of GuMiho. It was more of Maru just defending and adapting to what was happening in the game. GuMiho was the one making plays, and did fall in its face there. You can see some of the moments, some of the highlights of the said game. This was the initial defense here, and oh, we're just skipping ahead. This was the decisive moment here when 3 tanks, they all went down with the disables, with the auto turrets as well. And that was kind of the game-winning move for Maru, was that moment we just saw. And this was kind of Maru just snowballing out of control afterwards. I feel like we kind of rushed through that. with those highlights. I mean, regardless. GG. I always appreciate that they do compile those highlights after the games. But yeah, what I was getting at is that, again, it was Maru playing. Oh, it looks like maybe there's an issue with some of the earbuds and they may be replacing them for GuMiho. So there might be a slight delay here for game number 2. But talking about the games, again, it was Maru kind of responding, adapting. And that's a little bit concerning here because now there's that much more pressure on GuMiho. You know, he tried to catch Maru off guard, tried to out-multitask him, tried to pull him apart there in that first game. We may have to reapproach things in game number 2 and kind of adjust how we want to go into this series and how we want to approach Maru. Another important thing here, especially in Korean TvT, proxies. Proxies are definitely a thing that we're going to be seeing at some point in this series. I mean, I say that like it's a sure thing. Like there's a high chance. There's a high chance, you know, proxy 2-Rax Reaper, for example, quite common, quite popular, especially on maps where you believe your opponent's going to be greedy. I say that both players did open double gas on Alcyone, so it's possible that no one tries to go for a Rax expand. It's very possible. If that's the case, then we might not see any attempted kind of proxies or anything like that. We will see. Again, do apologize for the extended kind of downtime here. But again, we just want to make sure that everything is specific players. And here we go. As I mentioned before, our next game is going to be on Oceanborn. Ghost River is going to be a big, interesting one. Ghost River, of course, is the smallest map in the map pool, has the shortest rush distance in the entire map pool as well. So aggression is favored on that map. Here on Oceanborn, it's a little bit different. I would say that the third base is a little bit more vulnerable on this map, and you can abuse it. So we could see a similar style where GuMiho wants to try to deny and break the third base of Maru. Could go, or it does go both ways, though. Does go both ways. Here we go. We have our lobby. We are going to be loading in. Maru does have a 1-0 lead, but it's a best of 7. Plenty of games ahead of us. Plenty of games to come. I want to believe that we can have a back and forth. We can have a series back. And speaking of having a series, here we go. We're diving into game number 2 and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have for Team Vitality, Maru. And in the top left, we have GuMiho for Cloud9. You know, they gave us very little time for Maru. They just wanted to get it going. But here we go. Continuing our series here. And again, I feel like my eyes are mainly on GuMiho to see how he does adjust his style, how he does deviate coming into game 2, if at all. To have our Raxes back at home. There's no SCV out on the map, so there's no proxy Raxes. Mentioned before that I would not be surprised if we see some kind of proxy play at some point in this series, but at least for the first 2 games, we're playing more straight up. Gases are being thrown down from both players. We have double gas from GuMiho, double gas from Maru. As mentioned before, we've seen a lot of this so far this tournament, and yeah, no one is going for more economic builds. Double gas means we're going for a delayed command center, means we're going for a faster factory. And we also saw a little bit last game of how that opener can really turn out. We saw GuMiho double down on Reaper Hellion aggression and Reaper Hellion production, going up to 5 Reapers and 3 Hellions. We saw Maru go for a more defensive style, just cutting at 2 Reapers, or even 1 Reaper, sorry. So staying on a low Reaper count, low Hellion count, and getting into more defensive Widow Mines and Cyclone production, and more receiving the aggression instead of being the aggressor himself. Likewise, we can even go into reactored Cyclone production, which is kind of a little bit more indicative of maybe even going into mech. We shall see. Again, in general, Mass Cyclone is not really seen as often as it once was. It was not even that long ago. It was a couple of months ago where Mass Cyclone was more meta in TvT, going reactored Cyclone up to 8, maybe even 12 Cyclones. But now we're at a new patch. You know, the Cyclone has been nerfed, and yeah, Mass Cyclone is, I wouldn't say a thing of the past, but it's very niche. It's very niche nowadays. Don't often see it. Speaking of, Maru is going to be going for his initial Cyclone here. Not reacted. Meanwhile, GuMiho going to be skipping out on his reactor, going for a faster starport instead. Okay. So we are mixing things up here. We open up sure with our initial Reapers just to be safe. But as we're expanding, we're headed in a very different direction. We have our safety Cyclones on the way, working on our starports. Maru working on a faster tech lab. Curious. Is this going to be a Banshee opener? Getting into additional Cyclones. We see GuMiho is going for a Cyclone drop. Or setting up for a Cyclone drop. Meanwhile, there's the add-on swap. Tech lab is left open for the starport from Maru. And are we going for early Banshees here? Or even early Ravens? Speaking of, there it is. Okay, much earlier Raven here from Maru, going straight for a third CC. Oh my god. Just waiting for the resources, but there it is. Third CC's on the way. Very fast third base from Maru. Very greedy here from our blue Terran player. And can GuMiho punish this? Can he even scout this? That's the most important part of this drop. It's not necessarily about getting damage done. Damage will be nice, but scouting and confirming the fast third would be huge here for GuMiho. Drop is moving out. Maru, he's ready at the natural. He's not ready in the main. Gets a handful of Reapers, handful of Marines. The Cyclone as well. We do get into the mineral line. SCVs are going to be going down. So far we get one. We deny mining. But we have not scouted the third base. Because of its position, if it was closer to the third, then it would have been spotted. But no, it's in between the main and the natural. And it goes undetected. We can see GuMiho continuing to apply his pressure, going for his Liberator harass. Cyclones are moving out. GuMiho going for a much later third base now has begun. Meanwhile, Maru is building up his tank count really early on. Because of that, Maru will have the tank lead. Does want to move out. Liberator from behind towards the natural. Maru does scout in time. Does react. Does get the lib. At the same time, though, GuMiho diving into the main. Once again, going for the SCVs. A little bit late to unload. Is going to get a good amount of them, though. 3 SCVs go down. I believe that was 1 SCV from the Liberator and 2 from the Cyclone, or the other way around. 3 in total. But Maru holds. And again, because Maru didn't make all these Cyclones the way that GuMiho did, Maru went into much earlier tank production, and he does have that tank lead. On top of that, his third base already in orbital. He's just going to have to wait a little bit longer here to actually land it on location. Maru throwing down those 2 E-bays, getting ready for his bio switch, or for his bio composition. There is going to be a window here where GuMiho has stim over his opponent, but it's not the biggest of windows. Not the biggest of timings. That double E-bay, though, is going to be huge. It's going to be a massive upgrade lead here, as GuMiho hasn't started his own upgrades, I mean. There we go. Upgrades are on the way, around the same time. We scan, we get eyes on the third base of GuMiho. Maru taking his own. And as Maru's army is revealed, GuMiho could try to dive into the main. He's active with that drop. You can see GuMiho's main army pushing out across the map. He wants to apply pressure to the third. Can he, though? We do get the disable. And can the Viking hunt this down? Up! What of us? We can! Full medevac goes down. Tanks are getting in position. We have plenty of energy on these Ravens. And there's no pushing into this third. It's not going to happen. GuMiho's going to try, though. Reinforcing with another tank. Maru getting within range. Oh! Tank volley's going to be going off. Two good tank shots here from Maru. And GuMiho has to back off. He has to retreat. GuMiho trying to catch Maru off guard. Does Siege we get the disable, though? And we're going for the fight with disable. Every single tank order types are thrown down. And Maru, he catches out GuMiho. Gets a tank. Can he get another? Up, he can. He gets all three. He gets all three tanks. A brutal fight here. And GuMiho's in trouble. This is almost a repeat of game one, not gonna lie. Where GuMiho pushes to the third base to punish it, but he gets punished himself. Where he overextends and loses too much. Now Maru, this time though, he doesn't keep pushing. He backs off. He retreats. He wants to play it safe. I don't blame him. This time Maru does not have a lot of energy on his Ravens. He has no spells left. So he pulls back. He's getting a fourth. And again, Maru does have a tank lead. We just see GuMiho trying to get into his second factory. Viking production, 4th CC of his own. The game is going to progress. And GuMiho is still in this. He's still active, of course, and he still has a little bio to work with. He can try to pull Maru apart. Speaking of, Maru going for his own double drop on the right-hand side. And the game is going to settle. The game is going to settle down. We're going to be getting up towards our 4-base setup, and then once we do, then we can start being active with our main armies again. GuMiho does have that supply lead, but again, a lot of the supply is in Bio, is in Marines, is in Medevacs. Can still make use of it. We can see GuMiho being active, but the drop does come in. We're going for the tanks! Oh, we don't quite catch them. GuMiho does respond in time, does save the tanks. Behind this, we have mass starports on the way. The way that TvT works, we go through phases. Initially, it's about bio tank, but then it quickly becomes about air control. It becomes about air control, and then it can lead into just pure air Viking battlecruiser. But the Viking wars are soon to begin. Again, GuMiho getting up to triple starport production. The power of the Viking is that once you take control of the skies, you take control, then you can go into Liberators and take control of the ground. As Maru does threaten to dive. GuMiho sieges in time, gets a couple of volleys off. Maru gonna retreat. Up the game sound, please. Unfortunately, we don't have that capability. Unfortunately. Actually, there we go. We'll do our best. I do apologize, but we spoke to the... Oh! Maru gets caught out a little bit. We spoke to the... we asked the tournament organizers, and they said that the in-game sound is low intentionally. In-game sound and in-game music. So that is an intentional thing done by the production team. I believe they were asked to for this event. Oh, as the Ravens almost get caught out. You see Maru and GuMiho dancing here in the middle of the map. GuMiho going for the dive. Maru not quite sieged. Does pull back to the high ground. Oh, the tanks are getting stuck though. Maru having a hard time keeping up here. Tank, he will... sorry, GuMiho will be able to siege up here outside the third. Barely out of range. Moving out with 9 tanks. Both players are maxing out. GuMiho going to be the first to max out. Getting his 5th. Maru only on 4 bases. GuMiho throwing down 2 more starports. That's going to be up to 5. Maru, his bio army does break out. And how does he collapse on this? He has 3 Ravens, but that's still a lot of tanks. That's a lot of disables he's going to need. Speaking of, the army does on siege. He's pulling back. No! He pulls back in. GuMiho, he gets 4 tanks caught out. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. That's half his tanks going down. Some rough mispathing there for GuMiho. Ay, ay, ay. Maru rotating around. Now, GuMiho is a little bit vulnerable here because of that. Again, we have plenty of Ravens. We can disable these tanks. We can actually break this. GuMiho reinforcing with more Vikings. Rebuilding his tank count. Breeze on the way. Maru is still playing it slow. But there we go. We're going in. We disable the tanks, all 3 of them. There's still 2 more in the back line. Maru, he does take down 2 of those tanks. Good pickups here by Maru. Once again, Maru has been trading much more efficiently throughout this entire game. Disables every tank. And he's going to break this position. Oh, the anti-armor missile as well. Really, the MVP of this game for Maru is the Raven. Like, his Ravens have allowed him to catch out so many tanks, to zone away the bio army with the anti-armor missiles as well. GuMiho's getting into his own Ravens, but again, this is why air control is so important with all those Vikings. Speaking of, we catch another tank. Another tank goes down. GuMiho going for a desperation doom drop here towards the south. He's got 4 medevacs full of Marines. He is revealed by the sensor tower. Maru knows he's coming. He does respond in time. Again, that was a tense moment. Again, thankfully, because of the sensor tower and Maru's positioning, he was able to get back home in time. Still investing into Vikings. We have fusion cores on the way. Let's go. Now, the fusion cores could be for an earlier BC transition, or this could just be for Liberator range. We spoke about it. Once you control the skies, you get into Liberators, and you control the ground as well. So that could just be for Lib range, or for battle cruisers. Speaking of, Maru once again forcing his way through, disables the tanks. Marines, they still on forward. And Maru, he does break through the defensive line. GuMiho in a panic trying to siege up, but once again he's going to be completely shut down. God, we have disables for days. We have GuMiho going for the counter disable, but it's too little too late. Only saves 1 tank. And once Maru starts pushing, he can't be stopped. Oh my god, he's gained so much ground. We have 11 tanks to 1. No shot. GuMiho is down to 1 tank. They were just showing off the unit tab there. See, GuMiho trying to make as many tanks as he can to hold the line. He's up to 3. Ravens are coming in. Big anti-armor missile as well. Covers the entire army. Oh, GuMiho coming in from behind. Bold move. He's sharking around with his own Ravens, but he gets caught out. He gets found. RCs, he knows. Oh, he gets dragged out of position though. Leads out a Viking. Takes an anti-armor missile himself. But the tanks are exposed. GuMiho gets caught out of position. We're going for a base trade. We're going for a big counterattack. And does Maru turn around, or do we commit to the base trade? He's turning around. And Maru, he's racing back home with his Vikings. He commits with his Marines. Speaking of, GuMiho diving into the natural, trying to get on top of the production. His army is overstimmed though. Vikings getting caught out. We're on top of the production though. We catch a tank. The Vikings do let. Geez, look at how heavily stimmed this army is. But hey, we take down the factories. 2, 3 factories go down. And as GuMiho bleeds out this army, he's rebuilding. He is rebuilding. He is remaxing. BCs are on the way for Maru. And we throw down a wall of auto turrets from both sides. But again, Maru, without his production, you can see that his supply, he's plummeting and he can't rebuild. Not fast enough. And GuMiho, has he done it? He's on top of the starports as well. He already took down the Raxes. Maru, he comes in, and it looks like Maru, he will save his battle cruisers at least. GuMiho. He knows. He's ready to go. I mean, again, because of GuMiho's production, because of his economy, he is the first to remax. Maru in a bit of trouble. GuMiho already pushing for a second wave. Now, what's important here is that GuMiho did not get to the starports. He did not shut down the BCs. They are amassing. And GuMiho, if he waits too long, he's going to allow Maru to recover. So he's on a bit of a timer here. Oh, we have a wall of turrets. Let's go. But GuMiho's going to be able to clean this up. Catches a tank. Maru getting into additional starports, rebuilding his armories. Vikings underway. GuMiho is maxed out again. GuMiho, he does have a big supply lead, and he needs to use it. He's going for the fringe bases. It's very careful play here from GuMiho. And he should be able to deny the center right base, as Maru's not quite in position. Now, the other important thing to bear in mind is that GuMiho did throw away all his Vikings. Remember that. He threw away all because they landed. They landed in the main base. The Viking count was reset. A lot of the supply for GuMiho is in Marine, and he needs to rebuild that Viking count to keep up with the BCs of his opponent. Speaking of, GuMiho is getting to +3 air attack or ship weapons. GuMiho's got a good Raven count. His Viking count's still a little bit lackluster. I believe the Viking lead is still in favor of Maru. Thanks to Siege. Yamato is on the way for our blue Terran player. Maru is still struggling to remax. GuMiho sharking around. And GuMiho respecting the army of Maru quite a bit. And again, I do think that in a head-to-head fight, Maru will most likely take it here. Like, GuMiho has too many tanks at this point. Like, right now, the battle is no longer about the ground. It's about the air. And these tanks, they don't help in the big fights. They don't shoot up. They don't help against the BCs, the Vikings, the Ravens. This is something that GuMiho has to thin out. Speaking of, Yamato is done. And we have 5 battle cruisers, soon to be 7. I do like the idea of GuMiho moving out with his bio tank and trading it. Yeah, he's going for it. Moving out across the map. He's going for the planetary. This will force Maru to respond. BCs are teleporting in. Heard the teleport. We do on siege in time. There we go. BCs, they come in from the south. And tanks are going down. But again, we can afford to lose some of these tanks. The counter disables as well. Let's go. And you can see GuMiho, as he bleeds out tanks, he's replacing them with Vikings. 6 Vikings are on the way. He does need them. Catch more of those tanks. Maru is still making only battle cruiser. And upgrades, of course. Now, GuMiho is taking one of Maru's bases on the right-hand side. Isn't saturated yet. He's taking it. Marines, they go for the planetary. Going to get a couple of SCVs. Repairs should be able to keep this up, though. And Maru's going to keep pushing. At the same time, you can see GuMiho rotating towards the right-hand side. Maru, he's had enough. He's pushing through the middle once again. This time he knows he has the air advantage. Again, he's got so many battle cruisers. Yeah, this base is going to go down. There's no saving it. GuMiho, he's going to avoid the fight, going for a drop on the right-hand side instead. Again, GuMiho's hope is not just to get damage with that drop, but to force Maru to back off. SCVs are falling. Marines coming in. Can we catch some Vikings? We can! 1, 2, 3 Ravens go down. 4 Ravens go down. Very nice flank. Very nice pickoffs here from GuMiho. Does come across the air army. And that was actually a pretty big pickoff. Most of the Ravens did fall. BCs are revealed. We'll try and chase them down. GuMiho going for his own counter push. And with these tanks, he can lay siege upon the planetary. And we're going for the dive. We'll disable as much as we can. We'll disable most of the battle cruisers as well. Yeah, the BCs, they can do nothing. But GuMiho, he's running out of Marines. And the disables are about to run out. BC's going for the Maru. The Maru, the army, the BCs are falling though. Oh, we're down to 2. We're down to 2 BCs and GuMiho, can he focus them down? He cannot. There's too much air support. Maru wins the battle in the sky, and we spoke about this. Sure, there's 4 tanks left over, but the tanks, they do nothing. GG gets called. Maru, he takes the fight and takes a 2-0 lead. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Again, it came down to that air control, to the Viking v Viking, or to the Viking BC versus Viking Marine. It was a really good start to the fight, really good start where GuMiho was able to disable all the battle cruisers, but he just didn't have enough DPS, he didn't have enough firepower to focus those BCs down before the disable ran out. Once it ran out, then Maru started forcing back the army, broke through. GG, well played. Whew, but that was a pretty tense game, and that was a pretty back and forth as well. I will say that initially Maru was looking dominant. Initially Maru, if you remember, he was picking GuMiho apart, getting so many tanks for free, catching Ravens, catching Vikings, just a much more efficient play out of Maru. And then GuMiho went for kind of a game stabilizing move when he went for a massive counterattack. If you remember when he went for like the pseudo base trade, when he got into the main base, when he was camping the production. If he were to take down those starports, maybe that changes things, right? If you remember, he destroyed all the Raxes, he destroyed all the factories, he killed the armories, but he did not get the starports. That was when Maru was starting his BC transition, when he was starting to work on his battlecruisers instead, and the starports survived, the BCs came out, and Maru was able to stabilize despite how dire things were for him, despite losing most of his production. He was able to recover. You could also make an argument that GuMiho was maybe a little bit too tentative in the aftermath of that, where he did have a supply lead, but he wasn't making use of it too much. He was like, he looked a little bit too scared to push into some of these fringe bases. Maybe he thought that Maru was in a better position, but it took him a while to really get the ball rolling from there, and he was getting damage done, but still wasn't enough in the end. GG, well played. In the end, GuMiho, his remax was hurting him because he remaxed with Biotank, and we saw those tanks that really didn't help him much in the end. Not helping much. GG, well played. I do appreciate though that we had again a longer game here between both Maru and GuMiho. We got to see them both thrive in their own ways. Good moments for both of them. But now Maru, he's got a substantial lead here. He's up 2-0. Thankfully, it's a best of 7, so he still needs 2 more wins to close this out. But the longer this goes on, the more dire it's becoming for GuMiho. He needs to put a point on the board. He needs to fight back here and now. And Game 3 would be a good map to do it on. Game 3 is on Ghost River. Ghost River is coming up next. The smallest map in the map pool, the shortest rush distance map in the map pool. It's a very, very consolidated map. There's not a lot of bases to take. You know, it's very congested. That's what I was looking for. It's very congested. Can lead to a lot of aggression early on. On the flip side, because it's so easy to cut in half, it can be very easy to end up in that scenario where you just be defensive, you split the map in half, and you end up rushing into the late game a lot faster instead. That's another possibility here in TvT. True, because it's so positional based. But a 2-base all-in could work quite well. Could work quite well here as we're having a look at some of those highlights from game 1. This was the more early to mid game with Maru catching out tank after tank. Again, Maru's Raven control early on was insane here. Catching tanks, disabling the main armies. Like, things were looking bleak for GuMiho early on. Yeah, even here, remember when he caught 4 of the tanks? Oh my god. This was brutal, and this was looking to be the game-ending push, by the way, when Maru was pushing towards the 3rd base, and this was the moment, just after this, when GuMiho did opt to go for a big counterattack, and this is what we just skipped over a bunch, but this is when he was in the main base, going for that big counterattack, came in the production, got the fusion core, got the armories, got the Raxes, got the factories, but did not get the starports. This is another good moment as well for GuMiho when he was able to flank the army. But it all came down to this fight, the final fight here of the game. Again, most species were disabled, but they weren't killed. Not fast enough. The BC survived. The Marines also in the low ground were having a hard time getting much damage as well. I didn't notice we had GuMiho trying to dive on top of the army with those Marines. Let's go. And in the end, the BCs reign supreme. BC Viking, the Sky Terran, if you will. Are we tempted by Ghost River? Is GuMiho tempted by the game state, by the series state right now? Or is that going to make him play defensive, right? Like, if he's down this heavily in a series, does he risk it or does he not take that chance, right? Like, is it too risky to go for something aggressive like that, to go for a cheese? We'll see. So we can have a look at the map order here. Again, Ghost River is up next, followed by Amphion, Crimson Quartz, Side Delta, and Golden Aura if we can get there. Personally, I hope we can get an extended series, but we'll see. The pressure is on GuMiho. Pressure is on. Oh, the pose is back. Let's go. So diving into game 3. Will Maru take it even further and force and get on match point? Or can GuMiho fight back? I can see in the chat. Do we have VODs for this tournament? VODs are available on Twitch and on YouTube here on the CranKy Ducklings. But here we go. We're diving into game number 3 and spawning in the top right-hand corner. We have Maru for Team Vitality. And in the top left, we have this opponent. We have GuMiho for Cloud9. Again, the pressure is on. GuMiho down in this series. He can still he still has a little bit of breathing room here, and he can still afford a loss, as it is first to 4 wins to claim the series. But now it needs to be his moment. We do see Maru back at home opening up. You see both players going into their initial gases, into their Raxes. It is double gas opener here by Maru. GuMiho, is this the map where we open up economically? Curious. Okay, so this was not the map that I would have guessed for GuMiho to open up with a Rax expand. So, winding it back a little bit here, because GuMiho skips his second gas geyser, we're going for a faster CC. We're going for a faster command center. Meanwhile, Maru is going double gas, like we've seen already. Every game in this series is going double gas into a faster factory, into a bit of a safer and likewise more aggressive opener. There it is, factories on the way. Wait, factory on the way for GuMiho as well. Okay. Interesting. We have our factories on the way. GuMiho still opted to go for his own. Did not go for the CC. I mean, I'm ready for GuMiho to cook. Okay, he's building up his resources. He should be going for the CC on the low ground. Okay, there we go. So it's still a more economic opener, but it's not the most efficient economic opener. So when you go for a single gas geyser, you're meant to go for a Rax, then followed by the command center. We saw that GuMiho played it safe. He delayed his command center for a faster factory instead. So, yeah, interesting start here from the side of GuMiho. Very interesting. Technically, it's still faster than Maru, like his command center. I mean, true, it's still faster, but not by too much. Not by too much. Behind this, we're just getting into our initial Reaper Hellion. We do see Maru already working towards his add-on. Working towards his reactor, Widow Mine as well. And eventually drop play. Okay. So we are going to be settling in. Again, you can see both players just kind of getting ready here at their respective ramps, at their respective naturals for any kind of army to come in. Widowmine now in position. And Maru is going to be hiding the Widowmine under his Hellion. He did this in game number 1, I believe, as well. Can be a very cheeky move. And something you have to be very wary of if you're the aggressing player. Medevacs are on the way. With the arrival of these medevacs, we should be going for drop play. Maru, his is faster. He's going to be zooming across the map as quickly as he can. GuMiho going into faster tank production here. Okay. First tank is on the way. Maru's pushing in. As he pushes in, we do see GuMiho going out. And does GuMiho have much to defend back at home? That's what I'm worried about here. He's got a handful of Marines at the natural. His tank is about to pop. Maru, he goes to the mineral line. Marines do respond. Widowmine does borrow. And how many SCVs do we get? Well, we catch 2. We catch 3. 3 SCVs go down at the same time. GuMiho dives into the mineral line. SCVs are lining up. Getting some good damage done as Maru drops into the natural. GuMiho forced to evacuate. Maru still has control. Still denying a lot of mining time here at the natural base. Mine shot going off as well. 5, 6, 7 SCVs go down. 8, 10. Oh my god. GuMiho bleeding out 10 workers. And across the map, he does not get enough done. He get 11. Ooh, 12 with that final KDA charge. Very nice harassment here from Maru. And GuMiho doesn't get enough done. Just like that. Even though GuMiho had the slightly faster command center, Maru is ahead. Has a massive worker lead. Ooh, he catches the medevac as well. This is not a good start for GuMiho. He's down in economy. He bled out a lot of units. He's moving it. Now, what GuMiho does have is a faster tank count. Remember, he did have a much faster tank. So he has the tank lead. And he's going to try to make use of it. So he's pushing in. Show us the count. God. We don't need to see their faces right now. Aye, aye, aye. I believe the tanks were spotted. Yeah, Maru, he did spot them. Is aware. Reinforcements are on the way. Maru catching up in the tank count. His Ravens are ready. Maru, he went double starport. Speaking of 2 base all in, that's exactly what Maru's doing. And I think this is really smart here from Maru. He's going for his own 2 base all in. He did this against Spirit yesterday. The way this works is we're making 3 Vikings at a time, and then we can make a Liberator behind us. Orders start to throw down. We catch the tanks! Both tanks fall. GuMiho, he has to race back home. And Maru's going to try to race him there. We have a tank on the high ground. Maru forcing his way up. He doesn't even care. The tank goes down. Big volley's going to be going off as well. And Maru, he's pushing towards that natural. GuMiho just doesn't have... Oh no! Doesn't have enough! The tank gets zoned away. And what do we have at home to defend? What do we have left? Show us the natural! Got to. Okay, we have 1 tank. But you can see here the Viking lead for Maru because of his second starport. GG gets called. It's just too much. And Maru will take a 3-0 lead here against GuMiho. 1 more game is all he needs to advance on to the grand finals. GG, well played. Again, a very chaotic game where both GuMiho and Maru open up with their own drops. Unfortunately, Maru hit a little bit. He hit first, he hit faster as well, was able to get into the bases. GuMiho just did not have enough at home to defend, and his own drop, unfortunately, because it was delayed, because of his opener, because of the more economic opener, it was more easily shut down. Maru just losing, what was it, 4 SCVs? Like, I would say 4, maybe 5 SCVs at most, compared to the 12 that he got across the map. That led into GuMiho being overly aggressive to make up for it. Led into Maru going for his own 2 base all in, recognizing he was ahead, knowing he could go for the kill. He could, and he did. Did go for the kill in the end there. Oh boy. And GuMiho. The pressure is on. We're on match points. No more mistakes. No more missteps. This is our last chance to fight back. Our next map is going to be on Amphion. Going to be an interesting one here. Amphion, another interesting map with its own unique features, of course. Has a very safe to take third base, the triangular third, I mean, which you do have to break through rocks or minerals to gain access to. In TvT, drop play is very commonplace though, so not as safe as it would be in other matchups, I should say. Likewise, short rush distance by air, the base to base, the main to main. So drops can get across the map a little bit faster, can be aggressive. Much harder here. We'll see. Again, I'm hoping that GuMiho can bounce back here, but a reverse sweep is a difficult thing to do. Not impossible. We've seen it done before, but especially in a best of 7. Here we go. We're getting ready. We're skipping the highlights, by the way. I guess because the game was short. We're skipping the highlight reel. Game 4 on Amphion. We're getting ready to just go on in. GuMiho needs to cheese him or something. Yeah, I mean, I would have thought that would have been the plan on Ghost River. Not gonna lie, that's what I brought up earlier. That would have been the map to do it on. Amphion is gonna be a little bit difficult. It's a very safe natural. There's a ramp coming into the natural in Amphion, so it is much more defendable compared to other maps. Likewise, the third base is also on high ground as well. So being aggressive on this map is not easy. Now we have seen some unique proxies on this map where you can proxy on the other side of the mineral wall and you can mine through that and go all in. We have seen some players try that out. Is GuMiho willing? Here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Amphion, we have our South Korean Terran player, Maru, for Team Vitality. And in the bottom left, we have GuMiho for Cloud9. Here we go. Interesting. So GuMiho is going for his typical setup here with his buildings, going for the depot at the ramp, followed by the racks. You can see that Maru is throwing down his depot actually in his main to create some Sim City here in his main base with that CC. So an interesting choice. GuMiho going for the racks actually a little bit further out instead. So this is going to reduce the time it takes for the Reaper to get across the map. It is slightly more efficient. It does mean that the Reaper gets across the map slightly faster. So interesting choice here from GuMiho. Now, because of the positioning from Maru, it does mean that his production is safer. In case he was going to be proxied, his production is closer to the chest and safer overall. So, interesting decision making here from our two players. Very interesting. It's almost as if like Maru was just getting ready for the worst, getting ready for proxy 2 racks. It's a very safe play from Maru, going for his command center, going for his CC. I say safe play. It is an economic opener for the finally for the first time this series. It's a straight up racks expand. GuMiho going for that factory as a follow up. Did open up single gas. This is the same build. It looks like the same build as game number 3, the last game that we saw in Ghost River from the side of GuMiho. But he is going marine. Are we going for one base all in? GuMiho, Bobby. I'm keeping my eye on GuMiho here. He is banking resources. Okay. He is banking resources for CC. Command center should be thrown down. No, he doesn't. He throws out the starport. Okay, it's a one base all in from GuMiho. It's all or nothing. And Maru has yet to piece it together. Now, again, Maru, he did open up economically, which makes sense. I spoke about how defensive this map is, so you can get away with more greedy builds. This was a Rax expand out of Maru, so he has a much faster CC, so he has a better economy. But GuMiho doesn't care about the economy. This build from Maru is going to be working against him a little bit. And he needs to realize what's going on. Ooh, GuMiho now going for the CC. Okay. So GuMiho is not going all in, but this is a very delayed CC, which means GuMiho needs to get some damage done. He needs to get some critical economic damage here. He's going for the medevac, setting up for a Hellion drop. Okay. He's amassing Hellions and Marines. And Maru has yet to scout. Again, Maru did not open up Reaper. And he did not SCV scout either, so Maru's in the dark as to what's going on. And here we go. Okay, so it's going to be Marine Hellion in the drop. Meanwhile, Hellions from the ground. It's going to be a double-pronged attack here from GuMiho. Again, very committed. His CC isn't even done. Jumping into the main. Maru, he's ready at the natural, but his main base is exposed. And the drop does slip in. Quick reaction to Maru. He does pull away. That does expose the natural. SCVs are going down. The Hellions, they get into the mineral line. 2 SCVs go down so far. Good defense by Maru. Oh, we're going to get a 3rd SCV and a 4th. 4 SCVs is good, but that's still not good enough. You can see GuMiho is coming back in with the drop. He's still looking for more damage. He still needs more. There we go. Drops at the natural. Auto target gets thrown down. Maru, he does defend. He forces back the drops. He chases down that medevac. And that was not enough. That was 4 workers going down. Maru still has a 4 worker lead. He's still ahead in SCVs. And Maru still has a mule lead as well. The mule advantage. As GuMiho is still morphing in his orbital. So the pressure is still on GuMiho here. Now as a follow-up, he's going into early tank production and early Banshees. So GuMiho is going to have a tank lead because he just skipped out on Cyclone production, just went straight for tanks. Banshees on the way as well. This should be leading to like a 3 tank push. So the first kind of a wave of aggression from GuMiho may not have done enough, but now he's getting ready for wave number 2. Maru going for a 3rd CC. Oh my god. He's been so greedy. Can he get away with it? GuMiho is going for a 2nd star, but 2 base all in. Let's go. This is the same build that Maru just did in game number 3 on Ghost River. He's going for a 2nd starport, going for Mass Viking. And he's going for a 2 base push, or it's for a 2 base all in, straight up here from GuMiho. Maru does chip away at the army, and again, Maru going for a 3rd CC. That may just be too greedy here for him. He's going for 2 more starports. He knows. How does he know? Well, he's going for triple starport. He's crazy. Okay, so a couple of things here. As the Banshee goes down, GuMiho overextends. We can't afford these losses. But a couple of things are going on. If you're curious, how do you defend against a 2 base all in where they go double starport? What do? You throw down your own 2nd starport. You throw down your own 2nd starport, you keep up with the Viking production to counteract your opponent. But Maru does one better, going triple starport instead. Does he have enough time, though, to amass an army to defend against the eventual push, especially with that 3rd CC, which again is not really helping Maru here, as he's making 4 Vikings at a time. And again, this is a really cool way to catch up in the Viking counts. Because at the moment, GuMiho has a massive Viking lead. But with Maru making 4 at a time, he's catching up. GuMiho going for a 3rd CC on location. It looks like GuMiho recognizes that he cannot break Maru. Again, otherwise we wouldn't see a 3rd base. So it looks like GuMiho is backing off. Realizing that maybe he just can't kill him. 3rd base is now being taken by Maru. Orbital's already done. Looks like GuMiho wants to break through those rocks. It's neither 3rd. No, sorry, going for a drop even. Maru not quite in position. The CC is exposed. Does spot the army, but does Maru have enough? Through the tanks, they are drop. Vikings come in. Auto turret's going to be thrown down. That's a lot of auto turrets. And the tanks, they are falling one after the other. GuMiho bleeding out everything. Oh my god, Maru! He completely shuts down the army. Only Vikings are left. Vikings and a handful of Marines. That's a big loss for GuMiho. The Hellions are doing what they can, but it's not going to be enough. Maru, he just completely cleans GuMiho up. We get 8 SCVs, but it's too little too late. Maru has a massive supply lead here. The Viking, going hand, getting a couple of extra workers. Maru's going to be able to chase him down. Cleans up the Viking. Maru's still making more Vikings. He scans. He sees the production. And Maru can bully this army. Aye, aye, aye. Yeah, he scans. He sees no Marines. Like, what can we do? The mass, like, we have to land. The Vikings come in. GG gets called. There's nothing that GuMiho can do. And Maru will take the series 4-0 and will advance on to the grand finals. GG. Oh my god. That was a wild game, by the way. Like, it wasn't necessarily about like the control, but like the decision making. The decision making of Maru being as greedy as he was, like his early game defense was very impressive.
哇，把掌声送给我们的马入选手，同时也要送给GuMiho选手两个人给。
Oh my god. But the early game defense with the initial drop into the main base and the heli, that was very impressive from Maru. And once Maru realized it was a 2-base all-in, once he realized of the build of GuMiho to throw down the 2 extra starboards to go mass Viking, that was insane. We're going to hear some words from Maru.
拿下了比赛的胜利，拿到了我们总决赛的门票。那么在赛前有没有想过自己今天会这么快的4-0直接拿下半决赛呢？
어렵게 이길 거라고 예상했는데 생각보다 빌드 싸움을 제가 거의 다 이긴 것 같아가지고 이런 결과가 나온 것 같습니다.
他说本来以为今天会赢得很艰难，但是没想到每一把在开局上他就赢了，所以说就赢得比较顺利。
是的，但是今天其实有一把就是第2局的比赛打的还是比较焦灼的，打的时间很长。一开始你是在一个比较劣势的情况下，而且有一波是GuMiho空投把你主矿的一个出兵点全部都给打掉了。那一波当时你是如何去处理的？最后把自己的一个劣势给扳回来的呢？
일단 제가 조합이 더 좋았기 때문에 천천히 하면은 충분히 극복할 수 있을 거라고 생각했고 그 덕에 이제 전투 수량감이 많이 쌓여가지고 이길 수 있었던 것 같습니다.
他觉得那种打法是平时他比较熟悉的一种情况，所以他觉得只要慢慢跟他磨，就一定没有问题。
是的，其实我们看到当时虽然在劣势的情况下，但是马入选手他的很多的这个优先转了渡鸦，包括大和 timing 点抓的都会比GuMiho选手更快，所以哪怕第2局一开始有劣势，最后还是拿下了。那其实，在昨天的对战跟今天的对战，你打的都是 TvT， 那你觉得今天打GuMiho和你昨天打 SCBoy 两个人族选手有什么不同吗？
어제 선수는 어제는 네, 다 테란전이에요. 네, 너무
그냥 딱히 달라진 건 없고 이제 선수마다 대처하는 방식이 달라가지고 그냥 그대로 준비한 것 같습니다.
他觉得也没有什么太大不一样的地方，反正就针对每一个选手进行一些备战就好了。
看得出他对每一位对手都做了丰富的一个备战准备，然后2天呈现给我们的2场比赛也是非常的精彩跟完美。那最后一个问题就是，你已经拿到了总决赛的门票了，那么我们下一场的一个对手是小 Hero 跟 Skills， 他们2个当中会有一位拿到门票在总决赛跟你会师，你更看好谁在总决赛跟你会师呢？
일단 히어로 선수가 잘하기 때문에 스킬러스 선수랑 하고 싶은데 히어로 선수가 이길 것 같아가지고 준비하고 있어야 될 것 같습니다.
他觉得对他自己来说，当然是喜欢面对那个 Skillers 啊，然后但是他觉得还是小黑肉晋级的那个希望比较大一些，所以他还要下来好好准备一下才行。
好的，那非常感谢马入选手接受到我们的采访，那他也会在稍后的一个决赛舞台上为我们继续呈现他的精彩表现。那我们最后再一次把掌声送给我们今天的胜者马入。 好的，那我们的赛后采访就到这里告一段落，先把画面交给我们最专业的解说席。
GG, well played. Give it up for Maru here as he does advance on to those grand finals. A big shout out as well, once again, to Ethan. Thank you so much in the chat. Thank you so much for the translations. They're off translations. I believe Kuro is posting them in the YouTube chat as we speak. But yeah, just getting some insights here from Maru, just talking about what he was just referring to the series, referring to the TvTs that he's had to endure these past couple of days. And he has made it through again. Very solid play there from Maru. And now we're going to be entering our second semifinals here. And can we stop the GSL Finals rematch? Those that are curious, this most recent season of GSL, the last season that did conclude, the grand finals was Maru versus Hero. Maru versus Hero. They faced off in the grand finals of GSL, and it could happen again. I mean, Maru is dubbed the best Terran in the world. Hero, I would say is the best Protoss in the world. There's maybe an argument you can make for max packs, especially in online events, but in offline events, it's all about Hero. Oh boy. So can that be stopped is the question. We're going over some of these highlights as we do though. Skilless versus Hero is coming up next. I wish Skilless the best of luck here. He's going to be coming in as the underdog, and I look forward to the PvP. I look forward to what shenanigans are going to be coming up against, and how dynamic that PvP will be. We can get into it after the break. We're going to be going on a short break. I say a short break, usually around like 10 to 15 minutes, as the players are going to be getting their setups ready on stage, and of course, the production team need to prepare as well. So we're going to be going on a break. Take this moment to get some snacks, get some food, go to the bathroom, stretch of course, and prepare yourselves for what is to come. Maru's in the finals, but who will face off against him? It's going to be a Protoss, still to determine which one. See you soon. See you soon. Bye. See you soon.